Blackstreet Kid wrongfully detained, but a teacher's phone call changes his life. Jamal Jackson's life completely changed on a Thursday afternoon when he was just trying to make it to school on time. The 14-year-old boy had no idea those few minutes would forever alter the course of his story. That's when two security guards from the Philadelphia shopping center aggressively approached him. Jamal was running through the Central Plaza carrying his worn-out school backpack, trying to make it in time for his math makeup exam. It was his last chance to pass the grade. "Hey kid, stop right there," shouted the taller guard in a dark blue uniform. Jamal stopped immediately, his heart racing. He didn't understand what was happening. "What did I do, sir?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Don't play innocent. We know you just came out of the store over there," the second guard said, pointing toward the mall entrance. "But I didn't even go into the mall, sir. I was just running through the plaza," Jamal tried to explain, his hands shaking. "Open that backpack now," ordered the first guard. Jamal obeyed without question. Inside were only his worn-out notebooks, a few dried-up pens, and a snack he had saved from the day before. The boy barely ate one full meal a day. "Sir, look, it's just my school stuff. I have a test today, and I'm late," Jamal explained, showing the contents of his bag. The guards didn't seem convinced. One of them grabbed his radio and called for backup. Within minutes, a private security car arrived. Jamal was placed in the back seat, still not understanding why he had been stopped. "Please let me go. My test is in 20 minutes, the boy begged. "You'll stay quiet until we sort this out," the guard replied sharply. Jamal felt tears welling up. That test meant everything to him. If he didn't pass, he'd have to drop out and work full-time, the only way to help his grandma Margaret, who had been hospitalized for 3 weeks. Ms. Dorothy Williams was returning from a doctor's appointment when she noticed the commotion in the plaza. The 67-year-old retired teacher had dedicated 40 years of her life to public education. Something in her experience made her stop and take a closer look. She recognized the boy immediately. He was the same kid she saw every morning studying alone at the bus stop, using the streetlight to do his homework. Dorothy had always wondered about his story. The teacher approached with determination. "Excuse me, what's going on here?" she asked with the authority of someone who had faced many difficult situations in life. "Ma'am, you'd better not get involved. We're handling a situation," the guard replied. "What situation? Did this boy do something wrong?" Dorothy pressed. Jamal looked at the woman through the car window. His eyes begged for help, but also showed deep fear of making things worse. "Jamal, isn't it?" Dorothy said, remembering the name she'd heard other kids call him. The boy nodded, surprised someone knew his name. "Ma'am, how do you know this kid?" the guard asked suspiciously. "I'm a retired teacher and I see this boy studying at the bus stop every day. He's very dedicated to his schoolwork," Dorothy answered firmly. Jamal couldn't hold back his tears. It had been so long since anyone had spoken well of him in front of others. "What exactly are you accusing this boy of?" the teacher questioned. "There was a theft at the electronics store in the mall. The cameras showed a boy his age running through the area," one of the guards explained. "And that's why you stopped this child." Dorothy was furious. "Ma'am, with all due respect, but this is none of your business," the security guard said rudely. "Of course it's my business. I'm a citizen and I see a child being treated unfairly." Dorothy raised her voice. "Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out." Now, continuing, Jamal finally managed to speak. "Ma'am, I swear I didn't do anything. I was just running so I wouldn't miss my test. If I don't pass, I'll have to stop studying." Dorothy felt her heart tighten. There was something in the sincerity of that child that deeply moved her. "Which school do you go to, Jamal?" she asked. "Lincoln High School, ma'am. It's over on Maple Street." Dorothy knew that school well. She had worked there for 15 years before retiring. She took out her phone and called the office directly. "Hello, this is teacher Dorothy Williams. I'd like to speak to the principal about a student. Jamal Jackson." "Yes, I'll hold." The security guards watched nervously. They hadn't expected the situation to get so complicated. "Principal Barbara, this is Dorothy. I'm fine, thank you. Listen, I need to confirm some information about the student Jamal Jackson. Yes, 8th grade. Does he have a test today? I see. And what's he like as a student? Dorothy listened carefully for a few minutes. Her expression changed as the conversation went on. Thank you, Barbara. I'll be there in a few minutes with him. Yes, he's with me. See you soon. The teacher hung up and faced the security guards firmly. The principal just confirmed that Jamal is one of the best students in the school. Right now, he's missing his math retake exam, his only chance to pass the year, Dorothy said. Even so, ma'am, we still need to clear up the theft situation, the guard insisted. Then let's clear it up. Where are the security cameras? I want to see the footage, the teacher demanded. The guards exchanged glances. They hadn't expected anyone to stand up for the boy so firmly. The footage is in the mall's security office, one of them said reluctantly. Then let's go there. Now, Dorothy ordered. Jamal watched everything in silence, still unable to believe someone was fighting for him. It had been so long since anyone had cared to listen or defend him. The security office was in the mall's basement, a small room with multiple monitors showing different angles of the stores and hallways. The head of security, Mr. Robert Wilson, was clearly annoyed by the whole situation. Look, we don't have time to waste on this. The boy was running through the area at the time of the theft. That's suspicious enough, Robert said. Suspicious? A child running so he's not late for school? Dorothy was growing angrier. Ma'am, you don't understand how this works. We have to investigate any suspect, Robert countered. Then show me the footage. I want to see what really happened, the teacher demanded. Robert, visibly irritated, began playing the recordings on the main monitor. The footage showed different angles of the electronics store and nearby hallways. There, look, 3:22 p.m. The boy runs right past the store. Robert pointed at the screen. Jamal appeared in the footage, sprinting through the mall with his backpack. He didn't even slow down or glance into the store. And where's the theft? Dorothy asked. It happened 2 minutes later. The store clerk ran after someone, Robert explained. Then show me that footage too. Robert fast-forwarded the recording. 3:24 p.m. A store employee ran out, but in the complete opposite direction of where Jamal had gone. Wait a minute, said Dorothy, carefully analyzing the footage. Jamal passed through at 3:22, running straight across the square. The employee left at 3:24, running the opposite way. How can you possibly suspect it was him? The security guards began to realize their mistake. Robert, trying to salvage the situation, said, Well, it could have been 2 people working together. 2 people? Dorothy was incredulous. You stopped a child based on a completely unfounded assumption. Jamal, who had been watching silently, finally spoke up. Ma'am, can I say something? Of course, sweetheart, go ahead, Dorothy encouraged. I run through here every day at the same time. It's the fastest way from my house to school. Anyone who works here can confirm that. Robert turned red with anger and shame. Dorothy sensed there was more to the situation. Mr. Wilson, how many years of security experience do you have? She asked. 15 years, ma'am. And in 15 years, you never learned the difference between real suspicion and prejudice. The silence in the room was uncomfortable. Jamal felt a mix of relief and sadness. Relief that someone was finally seeing the truth. Sadness knowing this wasn't the first or last time he'd faced something like this. Well, now that we've cleared up Jamal had nothing to do with the theft, let's release him so he can take his test, Dorothy said. Ma'am, it's already 4 p.m. The test is over, Jamal said, his voice breaking. Dorothy's heart ached. That injustice had cost the boy his academic future. Jamal, give me your school's number. I'll call the principal, she said firmly. Ma'am, it's no use. The rules are strict. I've already lost my chance. Jamal sounded resigned to yet another defeat. You haven't lost anything. We'll fix this. Dorothy grabbed her phone again. Robert tried to interrupt. Ma'am, we can't spend all day on this. On this? Dorothy turned to him with a look that made him step back. You just destroyed a child's educational opportunity out of pure prejudice. The least you can do now is help fix it. Jamal watched the teacher with growing admiration. He'd never seen anyone fight so hard for him. Dorothy called the school again. Barbara, it's Dorothy again. It's Dorothy. I need to explain what happened. Jamal was wrongfully detained by mall security during the test. Yes, a very serious situation. No, He did nothing wrong. She explained everything to the principal. As they spoke, Jamal noticed the guards looking at him with newfound respect. Dorothy's presence had completely shifted the dynamic. Barbara, I understand the rules, but this is an exceptional circumstance, a clear injustice. Yes, I can come as a witness. Perfect. See you in 15 minutes. Dorothy hung up and turned to Jamal. The principal is holding an emergency meeting with the teachers. You'll get a second chance to take the test. Jamal couldn't hold back his tears of relief. Ma'am, thank you so much. You don't even know me and you're doing all this for me. I do know you, Jamal. I've seen you studying alone at the bus stop for months. A dedicated kid like you deserves every opportunity. Robert, clearly embarrassed, stepped forward. Look, I apologize for the misunderstanding. It was our mistake. Mistake? Dorothy stared him down. Mr. Wilson, that was no mistake. It was pure and simple prejudice. A mistake is when you take the wrong turn in traffic. Stopping a black child because they ran past a store is prejudice. Jamal was surprised by the teacher's frankness. Few people had the courage to speak openly about these issues. Well, in any case, we regret what happened, said Robert, trying to end the conversation. Regretting isn't enough, Dorothy retorted. I want you to tell me what measures will be taken to ensure this doesn't happen again. Ma'am, this is an internal company matter. It's not an internal matter when it affects the life of an innocent child. I'll be following up on this personally. Jamal was impressed by the teacher's determination. Dorothy wasn't just defending him in that moment. She was fighting so others wouldn't have to go through the same thing. Come on, Jamal. We have a test to take, Dorothy said, holding out her hand to the boy. As they left the mall, Jamal finally had the chance to tell his story to the teacher. He explained that he had lived with his grandma Margaret since he was 7, when he lost his parents in an accident. His grandma had worked as a housekeeper until she fell ill a few weeks ago. And who's taking care of your grandma now? Dorothy asked as they walked. She's at the county hospital. I visit her every day after school, Jamal explained. And where are you staying? In a little room we rented in the back of Ms. Jenkins' house. I've managed to keep up with rent so far by doing odd jobs on weekends. Dorothy's chest tightened. This boy, just 14 years old, carried responsibilities many adults couldn't handle. Jamal, can I ask you a personal question? Of course, ma'am. Why have you never asked for help at school? Principal Barbara is a very understanding person. Jamal stopped walking for a moment. Ma'am, I've been through a lot of tough situations in life. I've learned it's better not to bother anyone. People already have their own problems. Dorothy felt a mix of sadness and anger. This child had learned to carry everything alone because the world around him had failed him so many times. Jamal, listen to me. Asking for help when we need it isn't bothering anyone. It's being smart. No one can face all of life's challenges alone. But Mom, I've always managed on my own. And you've done an incredible job. But now you don't have to manage alone anymore. They arrived at the school just as Principal Barbara was calling the teachers for an emergency meeting. Dorothy explained the whole situation again, this time in more detail. Barbara, this boy was the victim of a clear injustice. He deserves his second chance, Dorothy concluded. The principal, a woman in her 50s with years of experience in public education, was visibly moved. Jamal, I'm truly sorry for what happened. We'll take care of this right away, she said. The math teacher, Mr. Michael, stepped forward. Jamal, I can prepare a special test for you, but I want you to know it won't be any easier than the original. I understand, sir. I just want a fair chance, Jamal replied. While the teacher prepared the test, Dorothy talked more with Jamal about his situation. She discovered the boy had kept his grades up despite all his hardships. How do you manage to study without proper lighting at home, she asked. I use the street light. Sometimes I go to the public library, but it closes early, Jamal explained. And school supplies? Notebooks, books. The school lends some books. I use notebooks until they're completely filled. Sometimes I find loose pages other students throw away. Dorothy grew more and more impressed by this boy's determination. In 40 years of teaching, I had rarely encountered such dedication under such adverse circumstances. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. An hour later, Jamal left the exam room with a smile on his face. It was the first time Dorothy had ever seen him truly happy. "How did it go, dear?" she asked. "I think it went well, ma'am. Professor Michael asked fair questions. I was able to answer almost everything." The professor approached them. "Dorothy, I need to speak with you privately." They stepped a few feet away while Jamal waited anxiously. "Michael, how do you think he did?" Dorothy asked. "Dorothy, in 30 years of teaching, I've never seen an exam answered with such precision. This boy is a math prodigy. He solved problems even some of my best students got wrong." "Does that mean—" "It means he didn't just pass, he got the highest score in the class." Dorothy smiled, feeling immense pride for this child she barely knew. "But Michael, there's more. His family situation is very complicated. His grandmother is hospitalized and he's been living alone." "What are you thinking of doing?" "I'm not entirely sure yet, but I can't just walk away and leave this boy alone in the world." When they returned to Jamal, Principal Barbara joined them. "Jamal, I have wonderful news. You passed the exam with the highest score in the class," she announced. Jamal couldn't believe it. For a moment, all the pain and humiliation from that afternoon were replaced by pure joy. "Really, Principal? I actually passed." "You passed with flying colors. Professor Michael said you have an exceptional talent for math." Jamal looked at Dorothy with shining eyes. "Ma'am, if you hadn't helped me today, you would have found another way, Jamal. Determined people like you always do." Barbara pulled Dorothy aside for a private conversation. "Dorothy, I need to tell you something about Jamal. He's truly an exceptional student, but he's been missing a lot of school lately. I found out today it's because of his grandmother's situation." "It's more serious than I thought, Barbara. There's more. Jamal was registered to compete in the American mathematics competition. With his talent, he could earn a full scholarship to attend a top-tier private high school." "Does he know?" "I didn't want to get his hopes up until I was sure he could participate. But with the absences and everything else..." Dorothy thought for a moment. "Barbara, when is this competition?" 3 weeks from now. It'll be held on a Saturday, right here at the school." "And what does he need to prepare?" "Mostly time to study and proper materials. We have some supplementary books, but it'd be ideal if he had access to more resources." Dorothy made a decision that would change her life as much as Jamal's. "Barbara, I need your support for an idea I have." "Go ahead." "I'd like to propose being Jamal's tutor, at least until his grandmother's situation is resolved." Barbara was surprised, but knew Dorothy was a serious and responsible person. "Have you thought this through? It's a huge responsibility." "I'm 67 years old, Barbara. I've dedicated my whole life to education. If I can make a difference in the life of such a special child, that's what I want to do." When they returned to Jamal, he sensed something important had been discussed about him. "Jamal, Miss Dorothy has a proposal for you," Barbara said. Jamal looked at Dorothy with a mix of hope and apprehension. "Jamal, I'd like to help you with your studies. How would you feel about coming to study at my house a few times a week?" Dorothy offered carefully. "Mom, that would be amazing, but I can't afford to pay." "Who said anything about payment? It would be an exchange. You'd help me with some things around the house and I'd help you with your studies." Jamal was moved but also worried. "But Mom, I need to work on weekends to earn money for rent and to visit my grandma." "What if we found a way to solve that issue too?" Jamal didn't know how to respond. It was hard to believe so many good things could happen in one day. "Jamal, can I tell you something?" said Dorothy, crouching down to meet the boy at eye level. "Of course, Mom. I was a teacher for 40 years. I've taught hundreds of children. But it's been a long time since I've met someone with the determination and intelligence you have. It would be an honor for me to help you." Jamal felt his eyes filling with tears again, but this time they were tears of gratitude. "Ma'am, you'd really do that for me?" "Of course I would, but there's one condition." Jamal grew uneasy. "What condition, ma'am?" "You have to promise me you'll sign up for that math competition and prepare with all your dedication." Jamal looked at the principal, surprised. "Math competition?" Barbara explained the competition and the scholarship opportunities it could open. Jamal could barely process all the information. "But Principal, will I have enough time to prepare?" With Ms. Dorothy's help, I'm sure you will, Barbara replied. Dorothy smiled. Jamal, you'll have all the support you need. Study materials, enough time to prepare, and most importantly, someone who believes in your potential. And my grandma? I need to keep visiting her. Of course you do. We'll organize a routine that includes visits to the hospital. Jamal couldn't hold back his emotions any longer. He hugged Dorothy tightly, as if embracing all the hope he had lost and regained that day. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. Dorothy was also moved. After retiring, she had felt a void in her life. Now, looking at this determined boy, she felt she had found a new purpose. Jamal, how about we start tomorrow? You can come to my house after school. Ma'am, but I don't even know where you live. I live right in the neighborhood. 234. Acacia Avenue. It's the blue house with a jaboticaba tree in the backyard. I know that street. It's close to school. Perfect. Then tomorrow at 2 in the afternoon, meet me there. We'll make a proper study plan. Barbara watched the scene with satisfaction. In her years of experience as a principal, she knew she was witnessing the beginning of an important transformation in this boy's life. Dorothy, Jamal, you can count on the school's full support. Whatever you need, just let me know. Thank you, Barbara. Your understanding and flexibility today were crucial, Dorothy said. That's why we're here, to make sure all our students get the opportunities they deserve. As they left the school, Jamal still seemed to be processing everything that had happened. Ma'am, can I ask you something? Of course, dear. Why are you doing all this for me? You didn't even know me before today. Dorothy stopped walking and looked at Jamal with affection. Jamal, do you want me to be completely honest? Yes, ma'am. When I saw you being treated so unfairly by the security guards, it reminded me of many similar situations I've witnessed throughout my career. How many times I've seen talented kids like you lose opportunities because of prejudice and lack of support. And you always helped? I tried to help whenever I could, but after retiring I felt I wasn't making a difference in anyone's life anymore. When I met you today, I realized I can still contribute. Ma'am, I promise I won't let you down. Jamal, you don't have to promise me anything. Just be yourself and keep dedicating yourself to your studies like you always have. They arrived at the street where Jamal lived. It was a simple street with small houses, some in poor condition. It's right there, ma'am. The house with the green gate, Jamal pointed to a modest structure at the back of a lot. Would you like me to come in and see where you live? Jamal hesitated. He was embarrassed by the poor conditions he lived in. Ma'am, it's a very simple place. Jamal, it doesn't matter if it's simple or luxurious. What matters is that it's your home. Jamal opened the green gate and led Miss Dorothy down a narrow hallway until they reached the small room where he lived. It was a space about 3 by 4 meters, with a single bed, a small plastic table that served as a desk, and a few belongings organized on makeshift shelves. Miss Dorothy observed everything carefully, especially the table where Jamal studied. There were stacked notebooks, old pens, and some school books. Despite all the limitations, it was clear how much care and organization he put into his study materials. Jamal, you keep everything so tidy, she remarked. My grandma always said, poverty isn't an excuse for being messy, he replied. Your grandma is a wise woman. Miss Dorothy noticed there wasn't proper lighting for studying. The room's only bulb was dim and far from the desk. How do you manage to study at night with this lighting? Sometimes I use a flashlight I bought from a street vendor. Other times I go under the streetlight. Miss Dorothy made mental notes of all the needs she observed. She knew that beyond educational support, Jamal would need some basic improvements in his study conditions. Jamal, tomorrow when you come to my house, we'll talk about some practical things too, all right? What kind of things, ma'am? Study materials, schedules, how we'll organize everything so you can make the most of it. Ma'am, I'm afraid I'm taking advantage of your kindness. Jamal, listen carefully to what I'm about to say. Kindness is when we do something out of obligation or pity. What I'm doing is by choice and admiration. You're an exceptional young man, and you deserve every opportunity. Jamal was moved again. It had been a long time since he'd heard such encouraging words. Thank you, Mum. I promise to give it my all. I know you will. Now I'll let you rest. You've had a very intense day. Ma'am, can I ask something about tomorrow? Of course. What should I bring? Your notebooks, the books you have, and most of all, your willingness to learn. After Ms. Dorothy left, Jamal sat on his bed and tried to process everything that had happened. That morning, he'd only been worried about making it to the test on time. Now he had a private tutor, a chance at the math competition, and for the first time in a long while, hope for the future. He grabbed an old notebook and wrote, "Today was the strangest and most important day of my life. A teacher I didn't even know helped me when no one else believed in me. Now I have a chance to show what I'm capable of. I'll study like never before." Ms. Dorothy, meanwhile, arrived home with her mind buzzing with plans. Her house was simple but cozy. There was a spacious living room that could be turned into an excellent study space. She spent the evening organizing materials she'd kept from her teaching days: math books, new notebooks, pens, pencils, rulers, everything Jamal might need to prepare properly. She also thought about practical matters. Jamal would need a structured routine that included time to study, visit his grandma, and still be a kid. At 14 years old, he had taken on adult responsibilities, but still needed to preserve some aspects of his childhood. The next day, Jamal arrived promptly at 2 o'clock at Dorothy's house. He had put effort into his appearance, washed his school uniform, and carefully combed his hair. "Good afternoon, Miss Dorothy," he greeted politely. "Good afternoon, Jamal. Come in. You're welcome in your second home." Jamal was impressed by the house. It was simple, but had a warmth he couldn't quite define. There were plants, books scattered around, and the pleasant smell of coffee. "What a beautiful house, Mom." "Thank you, dear. Shall we go to the living room? I prepared a special spot for you to study." Dorothy had set up a large table with several books, new notebooks, and all kinds of school supplies. Jamal was stunned. "All this is for me." "Of course it is. A good student needs good tools." "But Mom, this must have cost so much." "Jamal, stop worrying about money. Focus on what really matters, your studies." Jamal picked up one of the math books. It was brand new, with clean pages and that fresh book smell he loved. "Ma'am, I've never had a book of my own before." "Well, now you have several, and I hope you make good use of all of them." Dorothy sat beside Jamal and opened a notebook. "Let's make a plan. I need to understand where you stand in your subjects and what you need to focus on for the competition." For the next 2 hours, they talked about math, Jamal's strengths and weaknesses, his dreams and fears. Dorothy was even more impressed by the boy's intelligence and maturity. "Jamal, have you thought about what you want to do in the future?" "I want to be an engineer, ma'am. I've always liked numbers and building things." "What kind of engineering?" "Civil. I want to build good houses for people who live in bad places like I did." Dorothy smiled. Jamal wasn't just smart. He also had a generous heart. "That's a beautiful dream, Jamal. And I'm sure you'll make it happen." "You really think so?" "I'm absolutely certain. You have the intelligence, the determination, and now you'll have the support you need." When it was almost time for Jamal to visit his grandmother at the hospital, Dorothy made an offer. "Jamal, how about I go with you to meet your grandmother?" Jamal was surprised and happy at the same time. "You'd do that?" "Of course I would. I want to meet the person who raised such a special boy." The county hospital was a busy and not always pleasant place. Jamal led Dorothy through the halls until they reached the ward where his grandmother was staying. "Grandma Margaret, I brought someone special to meet you," Jamal said, approaching the bed. Margaret Jackson was a 58-year-old woman, thin and tired-looking, but her eyes lit up when she saw her grandson with company. "Jamal, my boy, how was school today?" "Grandma, amazing things happened today. This is Miss Dorothy. She's helped me so much." Margaret looked at Dorothy with immediate gratitude. "Ma'am, it's a pleasure. I'm Margaret Jackson, grandmother to this wonderful boy." "The pleasure is mine, Miss Margaret. Jamal has told me so much about you." "He's a special child, ma'am. Always been so dedicated to his studies." "I can see that." "Miss Margaret, may I ask about your health condition?" Margaret glanced at Jamal. who nodded encouragingly. "Ma'am, I have a heart problem. The doctors said I need surgery, but it's taking too long to get it through the public system." "How long do the doctors say you'll need to stay hospitalized?" "At least another month until I can get the surgery." Dorothy understood the situation better now. Jamal really had been alone for weeks, managing as best he could. "Ms. Margaret, I want you to know I'll take very good care of Jamal while you can't." Margaret began to cry with emotion. "Professor, I don't even know how to thank you. I worry so much about him being alone." "You don't have to worry anymore. Jamal will have all the support he needs." Jamal watched the conversation between his grandmother and Dorothy with a heart full of gratitude. For the first time in weeks, he saw a genuine smile on his grandmother's face. "Grandma, Professor Dorothy is going to help me study for a math competition. If I do well, I might get a scholarship to a private school." "Really, my grandson? That's wonderful." "It's true, Miss Margaret. Jamal has an exceptional talent for math," Dorothy confirmed. "I always knew he was smart. Ever since he was little, he loved playing with numbers." Dorothy spent an hour talking with Margaret, learning more about the family's story and understanding the challenges they faced. When they left the hospital, it was already dark. "Jamal, how about having dinner at my place? I made lasagna today." "Ma'am, you really don't have to." "Jamal, how many times do I have to tell you? Stop thinking you're a bother. You're more than welcome in my home." Dinner was a new experience for Jamal. It had been a long time since he'd shared a family meal. Dorothy had set the table carefully, and they talked about all sorts of things as they ate. "Ma'am, can I ask you about your family?" "Of course, dear, ask me anything." "Do you have children?" Dorothy grew a little sad for a moment. "No, Jamal. I never married or had children. I dedicated my whole life to education." "Do you ever feel lonely?" "Sometimes, yes, but now with you here, I feel useful again." Jamal realized that, in some way, this partnership was good for both of them. "Ma'am, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "It's been so long since I've felt this at peace, like things might actually work out." "And they will, Jamal. I'm sure of it." After dinner, they put together a study schedule for the next week. Jamal would come to Dorothy's house every day after school, study for 2 hours, and then visit his grandmother at the hospital. "Jamal, there's one more thing I'd like to suggest." "What is it, ma'am?" "How would you feel about staying here on weekends? That way you'd have more time to study and wouldn't have to be alone in that little room." Jamal was moved by the offer. "You'd really do that for me?" "Of course I would. I have a guest room I never use. It'd be perfect for you." "What about the rent for my room?" "Let's keep it for now. Once your grandmother is discharged, you two can decide what to do." Jamal couldn't hold back his tears again. "Ma'am, you're completely changing my life." "Jamal, you're changing mine too. I haven't felt this useful and happy in a long time." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing, the following week, Jamal's routine changed completely. He woke up early, went to school, spent the afternoon studying with Dorothy, visited his grandmother at the hospital, and then returned to the professor's house for dinner and homework. Dorothy was amazed by Jamal's progress. In just 1 week, he'd grasped concepts that took most students months to learn. "Jamal, are you sure you've never had private tutoring before?" "I'm sure, ma'am. I've always studied on my own." "It's incredible. You have a natural gift for math that I rarely see. Do you think I have a chance in the competition?" "I'm certain you do. In fact, I'm starting to think you could go far beyond just participating." At the end of the first week, Dorothy had an idea. She called an old co-worker, Professor David, who now taught at a prestigious private school. "David, this is Dorothy Williams." "I'm doing well, thank you." "David, I need a favor. Could you administer a math test for one of my students? It's to assess his level. Would that be possible?" Professor David agreed to evaluate Jamal. He was a 45-year-old man with a master's in math and years of experience working with high-achieving students. "Dorothy, what level of test do you want me to give him?" he asked when they met at the private school. "The same level you'd give a student applying for a full scholarship here." "Dorothy, that's quite rigorous. Are you sure?" "I am. Jamal is exceptional." The professor prepared an exam with complex problems, the kind that separated truly talented students from merely hard-working ones. Jamal took the test with complete focus for 2 hours. When Professor David graded it, he couldn't believe the result. "Dorothy, in 15 years of giving these tests, I've never seen a score like this." "What do you mean?" Jamal got 95% correct, and it wasn't luck. His solutions show exceptional mathematical reasoning. What does this mean in practice? It means he's already at the level to enter directly into the second year of high school at any private school in the city. And more, he has potential for the best universities in the country. Dorothy was moved, but not surprised. She knew Jamal was special. "David, can I ask you for one more favor?" "Of course." "Could you give me even more advanced material for him to study?" "Dorothy, I can do better than that. How about he joins my advanced classes here at the school? At no cost. I have an academic interest in tracking his progress." "That would be amazing, but I don't know if Jamal would accept. He's very proud." "Then let's present it as an exchange. He helps me evaluate new teaching methods, and I help him prepare for national competitions." When Dorothy told Jamal about the offer, he was ecstatic. "Mom, did he really say I can attend classes at a private school?" "He did. And more, he said you have potential for the best universities in the country." Jamal could hardly believe it. In 2 weeks, his life had changed in ways even his most optimistic dreams hadn't imagined. "Ma'am, I'm afraid this is all too good to be true. Jamal, you deserve this and much more. Now stop being afraid and start dreaming big." Jamal's participation in Professor David's classes added a new dimension to his studies. He was now interacting with upper-middle-class students, with access to resources he'd never imagined, but he stood out for his dedication and natural talent. Some private school students were initially puzzled by Jamal's presence, especially because of his simple clothes and different life story, but they quickly grew to respect his intelligence and humility. "Jamal, can you help me with this exercise?" asked Caroline, one of the students. "Of course, Caroline. Let's see." Jamal patiently explained the concept she hadn't grasped. Professor David watched these interactions with satisfaction. Jamal not only absorbed knowledge quickly, but also had the rare ability to explain complex ideas simply. One afternoon, after a particularly challenging lesson on analytic geometry, the professor called Jamal aside for a private talk. "Jamal, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course, Professor. Have you seriously considered studying engineering at a federal university?" "I think about it every day, Professor, but I know it's very difficult." "Jamal, listen to what I'm about to tell you. With the level you're showing, you could not only get into a federal university, you could achieve the top placements in the country." Jamal fell silent for a few moments, processing those words. "Professor, sometimes I'm afraid to dream too big. I've faced a lot of disappointment in my life." "Jamal, the fear of dreaming big is the biggest obstacle to achieving great things. You have a talent many people would love to have. Use it." This conversation marked a turning point in Jamal's mindset. For the first time, he truly began to believe he could have a bright future. Meanwhile, his grandmother Margaret's condition was improving. The doctors had managed to schedule her heart surgery for the following week. "Grandma, you seem more upbeat," Jamal observed during one of his visits. "I am, my boy. And you seem different too, more confident." "It's because I finally have hope, Grandma. Ms. Dorothy and Professor David showed me I can go far. I always knew you were special, Jamal. You just needed someone to believe in you as much as I do. Grandma, once you're discharged, things will be different. I'll get a good education and then a good job. We'll never struggle again." Margaret held her grandson's hand tenderly. "My boy, I just want you to be happy. The rest will follow." Margaret's surgery was a complete success. Dr. Thompson explained she would make a full recovery and could live a normal life. "Dr. Thompson, how long will it take for my grandma to fully recover?" Jamal asked. "About 2 months. But in a month she can go home and do light activities." Dorothy, who had accompanied Jamal to the hospital, was relieved by the news. "Miss Margaret, what wonderful news," she said. "Miss Dorothy, I don't know how to thank you for everything you've done for my grandson these past months." "Miss Margaret, I'm the one who should be thanking you. Jamal has given new meaning to my life." As Margaret recovered from surgery, the date of the math competition approached. Jamal was more prepared than ever, but also more nervous. "Miss Dorothy, what if I don't do well in the competition?" "Jamal, no matter the result, you've already proven your worth. But I'm sure you'll do great. I'm afraid of disappointing everyone who believed in me." "Jamal, listen carefully. You can't live in fear of disappointing others. You have to live to fulfill your own dreams." Professor David also spoke with Jamal the night before the competition. "Jamal, tomorrow is just another test. You've done hundreds with me. This is no different." "But Professor, this one could change my life." "Jamal, your life has already changed. The competition is just another opportunity. If it doesn't work out, there will be others." On the morning of the competition, Jamal woke up at Dorothy's house. She had prepared a special breakfast and made sure everything was organized so he'd feel at ease. "Good morning, champ," she said with a smile. "Good morning, ma'am. I didn't sleep well." "It's normal to be nervous, but remember what I always tell you. You're prepared." Jamal had breakfast, reviewed some notes, and headed to the school where the test would take place. Dorothy and Professor David accompanied him. "Jamal, no matter what happens today, we're proud of you," Dorothy said before he entered the room. The competition lasted 4 hours and consisted of extremely challenging questions. Jamal started nervously, but gradually gained confidence as he recognized the types of problems he'd studied. When he left the room, he was exhausted, but satisfied. "How did it go, dear?" Dorothy asked eagerly. "I think it went well, ma'am. I answered all the questions and I was sure about most of them." Professor David smiled. "If Jamal says he thinks he did well, he probably aced it. He's very modest about his own abilities. The competition results would be out in 2 weeks. Meanwhile, Jamal continued his routine of studying and visiting his grandmother, who was recovering very well from surgery. A week after the test, Jamal received an unexpected call at school. It was from the competition organizers. "Hello, this is Jamal Jackson. Jamal, this is the American Mathematics Competition Coordination Team. Could you come to our headquarters tomorrow with a guardian?" "Did something happen with my test?" "I can't give details over the phone, but it's something very positive." Jamal grew anxious and immediately told Dorothy, "Miss Dorothy, do you think I did something wrong on the test?" "Jamal, they said it was something positive. Let's go tomorrow and find out what it's about." The next day, Jamal and Dorothy went to the competition headquarters. They were greeted by the coordinator, Professor Dr. Sarah Miller. "Jamal, nice to meet you. I'm the general coordinator of the competition." "Nice to meet you, Doctor. This is Ms. Dorothy, my tutor." "Perfect. Jamal, we called you here because your test was exceptional." Jamal and Dorothy exchanged glances, still not fully understanding. "What do you mean, Doctor?" Jamal asked. "Jamal, you scored the highest in the history of the competition in the state of New York, and the second highest nationwide." Jamal was speechless for a few seconds. "Really, Doctor?" "Really. Your score was so high that we decided to conduct an independent review. 3 different professors graded your test and arrived at the same result." Dorothy began to cry with emotion. "Doctor, what does this mean in practical terms?" she asked. "It means Jamal will receive multiple full scholarship offers from private schools, and more. Federal universities are already showing interest in him for when he finishes high school." Jamal was still processing the information. "Doctor, does this mean I can choose where to study?" "Jamal, you can practically choose any private school in the state. They'll all want a student with your ability." The conversation lasted another hour. The doctor explained all the opportunities now open to Jamal and what he'd need to do to take advantage of them. Leaving the meeting, Jamal and Dorothy walked in silence for a few minutes, still taking it all in. "Miss Dorothy, I can't believe this is real." "It is real, Jamal, and it's just the beginning. Remember when we first met? I was being accused of theft and losing my chance at school. I remember perfectly, and look how far you've come in just 3 months. All of this is thanks to you. Jamal, this is thanks to your talent and dedication. I just helped you discover what was already inside you." They decided to go straight to the hospital to share the news with Margaret, who was already much better and could be discharged in a few days. Grandma Margaret, I have amazing news, Jamal said, arriving with a huge smile. Tell me, my grandson, you're glowing. Jamal told her about the competition results and all the opportunities that had opened up. Margaret cried with emotion and hugged her grandson tightly. My boy, I always knew you were special. Your grandfather would be so proud. Grandma, now we're really going to have a better life. I'll study at a good school, then a good university, and get a job that lets me take good care of you. Jamal, you already take such good care of me. I just want you to be happy and achieve your dreams. Dorothy watched the scene with deep satisfaction. She had helped change not just Jamal's life, but his entire family's. In the following weeks, Jamal received offers from several private schools. After long conversations with Dorothy and Professor David, he decided to accept a full scholarship at St. Paul's Academy, one of the best schools in the city. The principal of the new school, Dr. Elizabeth Sanders, personally welcomed Jamal. Jamal, it's an honor to have a student with your talent at our school. We expect great things from you. Thank you, Doctor. I promise to give it my all. I'm sure you will, and I want you to know you'll have all the support you need. The transition to the new school was smoother than Jamal had expected. His new classmates, initially curious about his story, quickly accepted him because of his humility and intelligence. During a physics class, Professor Dr. Henry presented a complex problem. Who can solve this equation on the board? Jamal raised his hand timidly. He went to the board and solved the problem elegantly and quickly. Excellent, Jamal. Could you explain your reasoning to the class? Jamal patiently explained, showing an impressive teaching ability for someone his age. After class, some classmates approached him. Jamal, can you help us with the math exercises? Asked Julie, a classmate. Of course, Julie. We can form a study group. Professor David, who visited the school periodically to check on Jamal's progress, was impressed. Dorothy, Jamal hasn't just adjusted well. He's becoming a natural leader in the class. I always knew he had that potential. He just needed an opportunity. And what are you planning for his future? We're researching the best engineering universities in the country. Jamal deserves access to the best options. Meanwhile, Margaret had been discharged from the hospital and returned home fully recovered. The family dynamic had changed significantly. Dorothy had practically become a family member. Miss Dorothy, how can I ever repay you for everything you've done for us? Margaret asked during a Sunday lunch at Dorothy's house. Miss Margaret, you already have. Seeing Jamal happy and fulfilled is the greatest reward I could ask for. But it's not fair. You've completely changed our lives, and you've changed mine too. After 40 years dedicated to education, being able to witness Jamal's growth has brought me a happiness I haven't felt in years. Jamal, who was listening to the conversation, stepped closer. Miss Dorothy, I have an important question for you. Go ahead, dear. Would you officially become my legal guardian? Dorothy was moved by the request. Jamal, it would be an honor, but you need to be sure. I'm absolutely sure you're the person who believes in me the most in the world after Grandma Margaret. Margaret agreed enthusiastically. Miss Dorothy, it would be wonderful if you made official what's already true in practice. The legal process for the guardianship went smoothly. The judge in charge, Judge Robert Anderson, was impressed by Jamal's story and Dorothy's dedication. Miss Dorothy, in my 20 years as a judge, I've rarely seen cases as beautiful as this one. The mutual affection and the benefits of this guardianship are evident. Thank you, Judge. Jamal is an exceptional young man who deserves every opportunity. Jamal, do you fully agree with this guardianship? Yes, Judge. Ms. Dorothy changed my life in ways I never thought possible. With the guardianship formalized, Dorothy could make important decisions about Jamal's education and future academic plans. A year after the competition, Jamal was in his sophomore year of high school and was already making a name for himself nationally in math competitions. He had won several medals and was being scouted by recruiters from prestigious universities. During a school science fair, Jamal presented a project on optimizing housing construction for low-income populations. Jamal, this project is impressive, commented a visiting professor from the University of California. Have you ever considered studying engineering at UC? It's my dream, Professor. I want to study at a top-quality public university. With your academic record and this kind of social project, I'm sure you'd be very welcome in our program." Dorothy, who was watching the presentation, felt as proud as if she were truly Jamal's mother. At the end of his sophomore year, Jamal received a special invitation. The American mathematics competition organizers wanted him to participate in an international competition. "Jamal, you've been invited to represent the United States at the International Mathematical Olympiad," announced Dr. Sarah Miller. "International? Seriously?" "Seriously. Your scores over the past 2 years have placed you among the country's top young mathematicians." Jamal could hardly believe it. From a boy wrongly accused of theft to representing the United States in an international competition, the transformation seemed impossible. "Doctor, when would this Olympiad take place?" "In 6 months in South Korea. The US government would cover all expenses." Jamal was silent for a moment, then asked, "Can I bring my tutor with me?" "Unfortunately, no, but it would only be 2 weeks." "Then I accept." Preparing for the International Olympiad required an even more intense level of study. Jamal began taking lessons with university professors and solving extremely complex problems. Professor David oversaw his preparation. "Jamal, these problems are at the level of the world's top university students. You're performing better than many of them." "Professor, sometimes I feel like I'm dreaming and I'll wake up." "Jamal, this isn't a dream. It's the result of your talent and dedication, and the help of incredible people like you and Ms. Dorothy." "Jamal, listen, you got here on your own merit. We just helped you develop what was already inside you." Dorothy followed his preparation with pride and some concern. "Jamal, don't push yourself too hard. You've already achieved things many young people only dream of." "Mom, I want to give my best, not just for myself, but for everyone who believed in me." "Jamal, we're already proud of you, no matter the outcome." The trip to South Korea was Jamal's first time leaving the United States. Meeting young mathematicians from around the world was transformative. During the competition, Jamal performed exceptionally well, earning a bronze medal and placing the US among the top 10 countries in the overall rankings. "Jamal, congratulations. A bronze medal in your first international competition is extraordinary," said the US delegation coordinator. "Thank you, Professor. I'm so happy. You have room to grow even more. With another year of preparation, you could win even higher medals." When Jamal returned to the US, he was welcomed as a hero. His school organized a special reception, and he was interviewed by local newspapers. "Jamal, how does it feel to be one of the country's most promising young mathematicians?" asked a reporter. "I feel grateful. 2 years ago, I never imagined I'd have the chance to study at a good school. Today, I'm representing the United States internationally." "What do you credit for this transformation?" "People who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself, especially my tutor, Ms. Dorothy Williams." Dorothy, watching the interview, was moved to hear herself mentioned. In his senior year of high school, Jamal prepared for admissions to the country's top universities. His grades were exemplary, and he had recommendation letters from renowned teachers. "Jamal, have you decided which course and university you want?" asked Dorothy. "I want to study civil engineering at UC. It's the best public university in the country and has the program I've always dreamed of. And if you don't pass on the first try, I'll try as many times as necessary, but I believe I'll succeed." "I believe so too. You're more than prepared." Professor David was also confident. "Jamal, with your academic record and your competition medals, you have excellent chances at any university." "Professor, I still get nervous thinking about the entrance exams." "That's normal. But remember, you've already faced international competitions. An American entrance exam is nothing compared to that." The months leading up to the exams were intense. Jamal maintained a strict study routine, but also made time to help other students and be with his family. Margaret, fully recovered, had returned to working part-time and was radiant with her grandson's success. "Jamal, no matter what happens in the exams, you've already given us more than enough reasons to be proud," she said during dinner. "Grandma, I'll pass, and when I graduate, we'll have an even better life." "My grandson, we already have a good life. What matters is that you're happy." Dorothy watched these interactions with deep satisfaction. She had helped raise not just an academically brilliant young man, but also a generous and loving person. The day of the UC entrance exam arrived. Jamal was nervous but confident. Dorothy accompanied him to the test site. "Jamal, you're prepared. Now just show what you know. Thank you for everything, ma'am. For believing in me from day one. Thank you for letting me be part of your journey." Jamal took the exam with total focus. He left satisfied, feeling he'd done his best. "How was it, dear?" asked Dorothy anxiously. "I think it went well. The math and physics questions were at the level I expected. I'm sure you did very well." The results would come out in 2 months. Meanwhile, Jamal continued his studies and participated in his last national competition as a high school student, winning first place again. 2 weeks before the exam results, Jamal received an unexpected call. "Hello, this is Jamal Jackson." "Jamal, this is the UC Chancellor's office. Could you come to the university tomorrow with a guardian? Is there something wrong with my exam? We'd prefer to discuss it in person, but it's very positive news," Jamal told Dorothy, who felt both anxious and hopeful. "Ma'am, do you think they already have the results?" "I don't know, Jamal. We'll find out tomorrow." The next day, Jamal and Dorothy went to UC. They were greeted by the Chancellor himself, Professor Dr. Anthony Matthews. "Jamal, a pleasure. I'm the Chancellor of UC." "Pleasure to meet you, Doctor. This is my mentor, Professor Dorothy." "Perfect. Jamal, we called you here because your exam was exceptional." Jamal and Dorothy exchanged glances. "What do you mean, Doctor?" "Jamal, you achieved the highest score in the entrance exam in UC's entire history." Jamal was speechless. Dorothy began to cry with emotion. "Doctor, is this real?" "Completely real. Your score was so high, we decided to share the news early." "And what does this mean?" "It means you not only placed first in civil engineering, but also received an academic excellence scholarship covering all your university expenses." Jamal was trying to process everything. "Doctor, I don't even know what to say." "Jamal, the university should be thanking you. We rarely get a student with your potential and academic record." The conversation lasted another hour. The dean explained all the benefits of the excellence scholarship and the research opportunities that were opening up for Jamal. Leaving the university, Jamal and Dorothy walked in silence for a few minutes. "Ms. Dorothy, 5 years ago I was being accused of theft. Today, I'm entering the best university in the country with the highest score in history." "Jamal, this shows that talent and dedication always find a way. It shows that one person who believes in you can change your life completely." "Jamal, you changed my life too. You gave me a purpose I didn't know was missing." They decided to go straight to the hospital where Margaret now worked in the administrative department to share the news. "Grandma Margaret, I did it! I got first place at UC!" Jamal shouted as soon as he saw her. Margaret dropped everything she was doing and ran to hug her grandson. "My boy, I knew you could do it." "And there's more, Grandma. I won a scholarship that covers everything: tuition, books, housing, meals." "Jamal, what a blessing from God." Dorothy watched the scene with a smile in her heart. She felt a sense of mission accomplished. In the months leading up to the start of university, Jamal dedicated himself to a personal project, creating a free preparatory course for low-income youth who wanted to participate in math competitions. "Jamal, what an amazing idea," said Professor David when he heard about the project. "Professor, I want to give back a little of everything I've received. How many talented young people are out there without opportunities?" "So many. And this project could be the start of real change." "I want Ms. Dorothy to be the educational coordinator." Dorothy, who had retired a few years earlier, was moved by the invitation. "Jamal, it would be an honor. We can make a difference in so many children's lives." The project started small, in a borrowed classroom at the school Jamal had attended. On the first day, 15 interested children showed up. "Everyone, welcome to the Math for Everyone project," Jamal said in his opening remarks. "Here, you'll have the chance to discover just how capable you are." One of the children, a girl named Felicia, raised her hand. "Jamal, is it true you were poor like us and still got into UC?" "It's true, Felicia. And you can do it too. It just takes dedication and people who believe in you. Do you believe in us? I absolutely do. That's why I'm here. Jamal's first year at university was extraordinary. He excelled in all his courses and was already participating in research projects by the second semester. Professor Dr. John Carter, his advisor, was impressed. Jamal, I've never had a first-year student with your level of theoretical understanding. Thank you, Professor. I've always worked hard at my studies. And it shows in the results. Have you thought about specialization yet? Yes, Professor. I want to focus on affordable housing. I want to develop cheaper, more efficient construction technologies. Excellent choice, an area with huge social impact. Alongside his studies, Jamal continued coordinating the social project. In 2 years, it had grown to serve over 100 children, many of whom had won medals in regional competitions. Jamal, you need to see this, Dorothy said, showing him a local newspaper. The article talked about the project and highlighted the students' achievements. Young man who rose from poverty teaches math to transform lives, Jamal read aloud. I'm so proud, Jamal. You didn't just change your own life, you're changing the lives of dozens of other children. I learned from you that receiving opportunities also means creating them for others. In his third year of university, Jamal received a special invitation. A renowned engineering firm wanted to fund his research project on affordable housing. Jamal, our company is interested in projects with social impact, explained the director, Enger Robert Smith. Your work has the potential to revolutionize affordable housing construction. Thank you so much for your interest, but I want to make it clear that my research aims to benefit those most in need, not generate profits. We understand perfectly. We want to support you precisely because of this social vision. The funding allowed Jamal to accelerate his research and develop prototypes for more efficient and affordable housing. One day, while working in the lab, he received a call that moved him deeply. Jamal, it's Felicia. Felicia, how are you? Jamal, I did it. I won a gold medal in the state competition. Felicia, that's wonderful news. I knew you could do it. It's thanks to what I learned in your project. Now I want to study engineering too. I'm sure you'll succeed, and whenever you need help, you can count on me. After hanging up, Jamal felt profoundly fulfilled. The cycle of transformation that had begun with Dorothy was now continuing through him. In his fourth year of college, Jamal defended his senior thesis on sustainable technologies for affordable housing. The evaluation committee unanimously approved it with honors. Jamal, this is one of the best senior projects we've ever reviewed, said the committee chair. Do you plan to continue this research in graduate school? Yes, Professor. I've already been accepted into the master's program here at UC. Excellent. With this profile, you have the potential for a brilliant academic career. At the graduation ceremony, Jamal was accompanied by Margaret, now 65 but radiant with happiness, and Dorothy, now 72 and still active in the social project. Jamal Jackson, called the dean during the conferral of degrees. Jamal stepped onto the stage to receive his diploma in civil engineering. As he held the scroll, he looked into the audience and saw his family applauding with emotion. For the graduation speech, Jamal was chosen to represent his class. Dear classmates, professors, and family, today I'm not just here to celebrate my graduation, but above all to celebrate the transformative power of education. He briefly shared his story, from the unfair encounter with security guards to that very moment. I wouldn't be here today if it weren't for a retired teacher who decided to believe in a boy she didn't even know. Ms. Dorothy Williams taught me that one person who believes in you can completely change the course of your life. Dorothy, in the audience, wept with emotion. But I also learned that receiving opportunities comes with the responsibility to create opportunities for others. That's why my commitment today is to use my knowledge to help other children discover their potential. The speech was met with enthusiastic applause. After the ceremony, many people approached Jamal and Dorothy. Professor Jamal, I'm a reporter from the state newspaper. I'd like to write a story about your journey, said one journalist. It would be an honor, but I want the focus to be on Ms. Dorothy. She's the one who deserves recognition. Of course, your story is truly inspiring. The article was published on the front page and resonated across the state. Jamal and Dorothy received hundreds of messages from people moved by their story. One of the most touching messages came from a teacher in a small town. "Professor Jamal and Ms. Dorothy, I read your story to my students every day. You remind me why I chose to be a teacher. Thank you for showing us that education truly transforms lives." After graduation, Jamal was accepted into an excellent master's program and also received job offers from major companies. But his choice was different. "I'll continue my master's degree, but I also want to expand our social project," he announced to Dorothy. "What do you mean, Jamal?" "I want to turn our project into a larger organization that can serve children across the entire state." "Jamal, that's wonderful, but it'll be a lot of work." "I know it will, but I'm sure this is what I want to do with my life." Jamal spent the next few months structuring the organization. He secured support from businesses, universities, and the state government. The Math for Everyone project became the Jamal Jackson Foundation for Education and Opportunity. On the day of the foundation's official inauguration, Jamal made sure Dorothy cut the ribbon. "Ms. Dorothy, you're the one who started all of this. You deserve to be the first to officially open our foundation." "Jamal, I don't have the words to express how I feel. Seeing what you've become is the greatest joy of my life." The foundation began by serving 500 children in 10 cities across the state. Jamal coordinated everything while pursuing his master's degree, with Dorothy's unwavering support as the educational director. 2 years later, during the defense of his master's thesis on technological innovations in social housing, Jamal stood out once again. "Jamal, your research has the potential to positively impact millions of people," his advisor said after the defense. "Thank you, Professor. My goal has always been to use academic knowledge to solve real societal problems. And you're succeeding. Few researchers combine academic excellence with such significant social impact." After completing his master's with honors, Jamal received multiple offers for doctoral programs in the United States and abroad. Once again, his choice surprised everyone. "I'll pursue my PhD right here at UC, continuing my research on affordable housing," he announced. Professor David, now both a close friend and mentor, asked, "Jamal, why not accept the international offers? They'd be incredible opportunities." "Professor, my place is here. I want to help solve my country's problems. And the foundation? It'll keep growing. We already have partnerships to expand to other states. Jamal, you're building an impressive legacy." "I'm trying to honor the legacy Ms. Dorothy started with me." During his PhD, Jamal developed a revolutionary technology for affordable housing construction, 40% cheaper and 60% more energy efficient than traditional methods. The innovation gained international attention. Jamal was invited to present his research at conferences in the United States, Europe, and Asia. "Jamal, your innovation could transform affordable housing globally," a UN researcher said after one of his presentations. "That's my goal. Decent housing is everyone's right. Would you consider working with international organizations?" "I'd consider partnerships, but my home will always be the United States." By then, the foundation had helped over 2,000 children and young adults. Dozens of them had earned scholarships to public universities, following paths similar to Jamal's. Dorothy, now 75, remained active in the foundation, but began thinking about slowing down. "Jamal, I have a proposal for you," she said one day. "Go ahead, Ms. Dorothy. How about we find someone younger to take over as educational director? I can stay on as a consultant." "Ms. Dorothy, you're irreplaceable in this foundation." "Jamal, no one is irreplaceable. What matters is ensuring the work continues." "But who could possibly take your place?" "Felicia." Jamal was surprised. Felicia, one of the first students in the project, was now in her 3rd year of education at a state university. "Ms. Dorothy, Felicia would be perfect. She's known the project from the start and has all the right qualifications. And most importantly, she shares the same passion for education that we do." Felicia accepted the proposal with enthusiasm. On the day of the transition, Jamal organized a special ceremony. "Dorothy, you're not retiring. You're becoming our honorary president," he announced. "Jamal, thank you for letting me be part of all this." Ma'am, thank you for believing in a boy you didn't even know. 5 years later, the Jamal Jackson Foundation was operating in 12 states across the United States and had become an international reference for math education for low-income youth. Jamal, now Dr. Jamal Jackson, had completed his doctorate and become a professor at UC, the youngest to ever hold a chair in the university's history. His research on affordable housing had led to the construction of over 10,000 homes nationwide, providing decent shelter for low-income families. During an international conference on social innovation, Jamal was asked about his next plans. Dr. Jackson, with all your academic and entrepreneurial success, what's your next goal? My goal remains the same as always, to use knowledge to transform lives. We're launching a new project to bring quality education to remote rural communities. And personally, do you plan to marry, have children? Jamal smiled. Personally, I already have a family. My grandmother Margaret, now 70, is still my inspiration for strength and determination. And Ms. Dorothy, who's 78, remains my mentor and example of generosity. What about starting your own family? I believe family isn't just about blood ties. Every child I help through the foundation is like my own. After the conference, Jamal received a special call. Jamal, it's Felicia. Felicia, how are you? Jamal, I have amazing news. One of our students at the foundation just won a gold medal in the International Mathematical Olympiad. Really? Who was it? Annabeth, remember her? That shy girl who joined the program 3 years ago. I remember perfectly. Felicia, what wonderful news. Jamal, she wants to talk to you. Of course, put her on. Professor Jackson? Annabeth's timid voice. Anna, congratulations on the medal, I'm so proud. Professor, it was thanks to the foundation that I discovered I loved math. Anna, it was thanks to your talent and dedication. Professor, now I want to study engineering like you. I'm sure you'll succeed, and whenever you need help, you can count on me. After hanging up, Jamal felt deeply fulfilled. The cycle of transformation kept going. That evening, during dinner at Dorothy's house, a tradition they'd kept for over 10 years, he shared the news. Ma'am, Annabeth won a gold medal in the international competition. How wonderful, Jamal. Another life transformed. Ma'am, sometimes I stop and think about everything that's happened since that day at the mall. And what do you think? I think about how many talented kids are out there just waiting for an opportunity, and how one person who believes can change everything. Dorothy smiled, her eyes shining. Jamal, you've become that person for hundreds of children. I learned from the best teacher. Margaret, now living in a comfortable home Jamal had built especially for her, joined the conversation. My dears, you can't imagine the joy I feel seeing everything you've built together. Grandma, it all started with you, who never let me give up on my studies, and it continued with Dorothy, who believed in you when no one else did. And now it continues with all the children we're helping, Dorothy added. Jamal looked at these two women who had been so pivotal in his life and felt profound gratitude. Do you know what impresses me the most about our whole story? What? The two asked. It's that everything started with an act of injustice. If those security guards hadn't approached me unfairly, maybe our paths would never have crossed. Jamal, this shows that even from bad situations, good things can come, said Dorothy. It shows we shouldn't let injustices bring us down, but use them as motivation to create a better world. That night, Jamal wrote in his journal, a habit he'd kept since adolescence. Today marks 10 years since I graduated from university. Looking back, I see that the scared, angry boy who was falsely accused of theft has become someone who dedicates his life to creating opportunities for others. This was only possible because a retired teacher decided to believe in me when I didn't even believe in myself. Ms. Dorothy taught me that education is the most powerful tool for social transformation. Now, with our foundation helping thousands of children across the country, I feel I'm honoring the legacy she left me. Every child who changes their life through education is our victory. My commitment remains to use all the knowledge I've gained to create a fairer world, where every child has the chance to discover and develop their potential, no matter their background. The boy who was Jamal Jackson grew up and became Dr. Jamal Jackson. But deep down, I'm still that kid who just needed someone to believe in him to realize what he was capable of. A year later, Jamal received the highest recognition for his work. He was chosen as Person of the Year in Education by the Department of Education. At the awards ceremony in Washington, D.C., he was accompanied by Dorothy, Margaret, Felicia, and a delegation of students from the foundation. Dr. Jamal Jackson, for your exceptional work in mathematics education and social innovation, it is an honor to present you with this award, said the Secretary of Education. Jamal took the stage to accept the award. In his speech, he once again highlighted Dorothy's pivotal role. So, as Honorable Secretary, distinguished guests, this award isn't mine. It belongs to everyone who believed in education as a tool for social change. He retold his story, from the unfair encounter to that very moment. I stand here today because a retired teacher, Ms. Dorothy Williams, decided to stand up for a boy she didn't even know. She taught me that believing in a child's potential can change not just their life, but the lives of everyone they'll touch in the future. That's why I dedicate this award to all educators who, like Ms. Dorothy, devote their lives to believing in the transformative power of education. The speech moved the entire audience. Dorothy, now 79, beamed with pride. After the ceremony, a reporter asked Dorothy, "Teacher, how do you feel seeing what Jamal has become?" "I feel fulfilled, not just because of him, but because of all the children he's helping discover their potential." Did you ever imagine that the boy you defended at the mall would become all this? I knew he was special from the very first moment, but I never imagined our partnership would result in something so extraordinary. What's the secret to transforming lives through education? Dorothy thought for a moment before answering. Believing. Simply believing in every child's potential, even when they don't believe in themselves. That night, in the hotel in Washington, D.C., Jamal reflected on everything he'd achieved. His foundation had already helped over 5,000 children. His research on affordable housing had benefited thousands of families. He had become a national leader in education and social innovation. But more important than all the recognition was knowing he had honored the trust Dorothy had placed in him so many years ago. He picked up his phone and called her. "Miss, Dorothy still awake?" "Of course, Jamal. How was the awards dinner?" "It was lovely, but what really matters is knowing you were proud." "Very proud, my dear. You've become everything I always knew you could be." "Miss Dorothy, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "Even with all the awards and recognition, the most important moment of my life is still that day at the mall, when you decided to believe in me." "Jamal, that was one of the most important days of my life too. It was when I discovered I could still make a difference. Ms. Dorothy, thank you for teaching me that receiving opportunities means creating opportunities for others. Thank you for taking that lesson so far." After hanging up, Jamal looked out the hotel window at the illuminated Capitol. He thought of all the children across the country who were studying at that very moment, dreaming of a better future. Some of them would be helped by the foundation he had created. Others would find their own paths, but they all deserved someone who believed in their potential. The next day, Jamal returned to New York determined to expand the foundation's work even further. He had received proposals from Latin American countries interested in replicating the US model. "Felicia, how about we take our project to other countries?" he proposed. "Jamal, that would be amazing. Imagine how many children we could help." "Exactly. Let's prepare a pilot project for Canada." "And Ms. Dorothy, would she agree to be our international consultant?" Jamal laughed. "I'll ask, but I'm sure she'll say yes. At 79, she still has the energy to change the world." And he was right. When Jamal shared the proposal, Dorothy was thrilled. "Jamal, it would be an honor to help bring our work to other countries." "Ms. Dorothy, don't you think you've already done enough?" "Jamal, as long as there are children in need of opportunities, we'll never do enough." 2 years later, the Jamal Jackson Foundation was operating in 5 Latin American countries. Jamal had become an international reference in math education and social innovation. During a conference at UNESCO in Paris, he presented the results of their work. In 10 years, we've helped over 8,000 children and young people. More than 500 of them have earned scholarships to public universities. Dozens have become teachers, engineers, doctors, lawyers, Jamal reported. Dr. Jackson, what's the secret to your method's success? Asked a French educator. It's not a method, it's a philosophy, believing in every child's potential, regardless of their background. And how do you identify these talented children? We don't. We start from the principle that every child has potential. Our job is to create the conditions for them to discover and develop it. After the conference, Jamal received several proposals to expand the foundation to Europe and Africa, but his priority remained Latin America. I want to consolidate our work here before thinking about other continents, he explained to Dorothy. Very wise, Jamal. It's better to do a few things well than many things poorly. I learned that from you. Quality always matters more than quantity. By then, Jamal had married Michelle, an educator he'd met at a conference who shared his passion for social change. Together, they had decided not to have biological children, but to adopt children in need of a family. Jamal, I found 2 sisters who need to be adopted together, Michelle told him one day. Tell me more about them. Leah is 8 and Sophie is 6. They lost their parents 2 years ago and are in a shelter. Leah is very good at math. And do they want to be adopted together? Yes. Leah takes care of Sophie as if she were her mother. Jamal was moved. The girl's story reminded him of his own childhood. Michelle, let's go meet them. The meeting with Leah and Sophie was unforgettable. Leah, though only 8 years old, showed impressive maturity and cared for her younger sister with tenderness. Leah, do you like studying? Jamal asked. I love it, especially math. Why math? Because with numbers, we can figure out how to make things work better. Jamal smiled, remembering himself at that age. Sophie, what about you? What do you like? I like drawing and playing with Leah. And would you like to have a new mom and dad? Sophie looked at Leah, who nodded encouragingly. Yes, if you're nice to us. We'll be very nice, Michelle assured. The adoption process took a few months, but finally, Leah and Sophie officially became Jamal and Michelle's daughters. Daddy Jamal, are we going to live in your house forever now? Sophie asked on the day they arrived. Forever, my dear, this is your home now. And can we keep going to school? Leah asked. Of course you can. In fact, you'll have access to the best education possible. Dorothy, who was now affectionately called Grandma Dorothy by the girls, was moved when she met them. Jamal, they remind me of you at that age, smart and determined. That's what impresses me the most, ma'am. The cycle keeps repeating. And now you can give them what I gave you. I'll do my best. With his daughters at home, Jamal discovered a new dimension to his life. Beyond helping thousands of children through the foundation, he now had the direct responsibility of raising Leah and Sophie. Daddy, why did you start that foundation? Leah asked one day. To help kids like I was when I was little, kids who need opportunities. And why did you adopt us? Jamal crouched down to meet her eye level. Because you deserve a family who loves you and believes in your potential. Like Grandma Dorothy did for you? Exactly like Grandma Dorothy did for me. 2 years after the adoption, Leah was excelling in school and showing exceptional talent in math, following in Jamal's footsteps. Daddy, can I join the math competition? She asked. Of course you can, I'll help you prepare. And later, can I work at the foundation with you? Jamal was touched by the question. Leah, you can do anything you want in life, but if you choose to work in education, you'll be very welcome. Sophie, meanwhile, showed talent for art and design, but also had an interest in the family's social projects. Daddy, can I draw posters for the foundation? She offered. Of course you can. Your drawings will make the foundation even more beautiful. During a family meeting, Jamal proposed something special. Girls, how about we create a foundation program just for kids in shelters? What kind of program? Leah asked. One that teaches not just math, but also shows these kids they can have a bright future. Like you showed us, Sophie said. Exactly like we showed you. The Bright Future program launched the following year and quickly became one of the Foundation's most important initiatives, serving vulnerable children across the country. At 35, Jamal had become a global leader in education and social inclusion. His foundation operated in 8 countries, had helped over 15,000 children, and his methods were studied in universities worldwide. But for him, the greatest recognition remained the affection and pride he saw in Dorothy's eyes, now 82 years old and still active as honorary president of the foundation. "Jamal, you've exceeded every expectation I ever had for you," she said during a birthday celebration for the foundation. "Miss Dorothy, I still have so much work ahead. I'm sure of that. But I want you to know you've already done far more than I ever dreamed when I decided to help you that day. Miss Dorothy, that day didn't just change my life, it changed thousands of lives. That's what makes me proudest. You didn't just transform your own life, you became a life changer." That night, looking at his family, Michelle, Leah, Sophie, Margaret, now 75, and Dorothy, Jamal felt completely fulfilled. He had honored the trust Dorothy had placed in him. He had built a loving family. He had helped thousands of children discover their potential, and most importantly, he had perpetuated the cycle of transformation that began with a simple act of courage and generosity. The boy who had once been unjustly accused of theft had become a man who dedicated his life to stealing children away from poverty and lack of opportunity, offering them education, love, and hope. And it had all started with a retired teacher who chose to believe. The end. Tell us in the comments what you thought of this story of transformation and perseverance. Do you believe Jamal made the right choices by dedicating his life to helping other children? Do you know a similar story? Share your honest thoughts in the comments. Thank you for following along to the end. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other inspiring stories like this one.